Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2024 Hyundai Tucson SEL all-wheel drive. Look at this gorgeous car in the sunlight. I remember vividly when the 22 redesign came out of the Hyundai Tucson, I thought it was the best looking compact SUV out there, and I don't think that's changed. I still think it is a gorgeous vehicle. We'll talk a bit more about the exterior later on in the review, but for now just wanted to say that in the 2025 Hyundai Tucson that they've already announced, they are actually refreshing the exterior and the interior. Not that this really needs an exterior refresh, honestly. I still think it looks very modern, but you are getting a refresh in 2025, so it might be better to wait for that model year if you are interested in the newer tech specifically. So the one I have here is in the SEL trim. That is kind of the mid-scale trim. You've got the SE at the bottom, SEL, and then the XRT, which is the off-roading one, and then you've got the Limited at the very top of the line. So the SEL starts just above $30,000. This one as tested is about $32,000 because it has H-Track all-wheel drive for $1,500. All Hyundai Tucsons come with a 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder engine. It is not turbocharged or anything like that, so this feels pretty darn slow. It goes 0 to 60 in about 9 seconds, thanks to 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. Those are pretty low numbers in this vehicle class, but honestly, I don't think anyone is buying a compact SUV for some zooms, right? I would say that no vehicle in the compact SUV segment is really that fast, right? You've got the CR-V, the newly redesigned one looks fantastic. You've got the Kia Sportage, which also looks really cool. You've got the Toyota RAV4, the classic in the segment, which I do expect to get fully redesigned pretty soon to compete with these really nice redesigns recently. But yeah, so none of those cars are very fast, though I will say this is the slowest of the bunch. You do have an 8-speed automatic transmission with standard front-wheel drive, but you can get that optional all-wheel drive, like I said, and that gets you full economy numbers of 23 city, 29 highway for 25 combined miles per gallon. Pretty average in its class. All right, let's do a deep dive on the exterior now. So this color here is called Intense Blue, and I mean, it is quite intense. This is a gorgeous color. I think probably the best looking Tucson color out there for the 2024 model generation. You do have a lot of grays and blacks and whites, and then you've got this blue. You also have another color called Deep Blue, which is kind of a more darker midnight blue, but I think this one looks the best. I mean, look how nice that looks, especially when it's clean. Unfortunately, we got a snowstorm right before I'm filming right now, so yeah, this is what it looks like after it's covered in some snow, but you can see it still looks really nice. So obviously the front fascia is going to be the most notable part of this exterior. It is so unique, it doesn't look like anything out there on the road right now. So I mean, when this came out in 2022, I still remember thinking like, wow, this is such a huge leap forward for the Tucson. My parents drove a Tucson earlier, and that was not a nice vehicle. It was like a 2017 or something like that. Had a lot of problems and just looked very unattractive. And I mean, Hyundai and Kia have just truly had a renaissance in terms of design language. So you've got this cool angel wing design that you can see in the daytime running lights. They are full LEDs standard across the entire lineup, and it just looks fantastic. You've got big functional grille vents, and you've got some nice lights on the side as well, and amber turn signals as expected. All of this just looks very, very sharp, and even in 2024, it's 3 years into the model generation, it just looks incredible. So kudos to Hyundai, whoever designed this. Really, I mean, this is probably one of their best designs in my opinion. And now moving to the side profile of this vehicle, these wheels are okay. They're the standard 17-inch alloy wheels that you get on the lower trims. You can upgrade to 19-inch wheels. They do look a lot sleeker and more luxurious, but this one is just the mid-scale SEL trim, so you don't get that. I will say one of the coolest things on the side profile is these body lines, right? You can already see here, like, those are some weird angles and stuff like that, right? Like, you normally don't expect to see that in an economy class vehicle like this, but they look really, really good. I also love how the plastic black fenders on top of the wheels, they don't look bad here. I feel like they're perfectly balanced with the black plastic trim on the windows, and you've also got that nice aluminum line. So, I mean, overall, this side profile looks incredible. I really, really like the design of this. You do have some roof racks as well, in case you want to go off-roading or adventuring with your Tucson. And then you can see in the rear here, you've got also a very unique, distinctive styling. Look at this awesome rear. One of the most interesting parts of the rear, in my opinion, is that they put their badge on the windshield. That is a super interesting choice. I don't think any other manufacturer does that right now, and I think it looks pretty good. I don't know if they actually needed it. I honestly think that even if they didn't have the badge, it would still look really good, but they do want to let you know that this is a Hyundai vehicle after all. This is such a great design. Not too much else interesting on the rear here. You've got Tucson, and you've got H-Track all-wheel drive in the rear. And then you don't have any visible exhaust pipes. Oh my God, look, there are icicles forming already. But yeah, so you don't have any visible exhaust pipes. The exhaust does not sound anything special. The open is for the tailgate is right here. It's actually a little hard to find, but it is a very nicely sized cargo space here. You've got 38 cubic feet of cargo space, which is one of the highest in the class. That is with the second row up. And you'll notice, like even from the side profile, you'll probably notice that this vehicle is pretty darn large for a compact SUV. It feels very spacious on the interior, and I think that's one of the best parts of this vehicle. When they redesigned it in 2022, they added a lot more space for the rear passengers and a lot more cargo space. So if you're looking for a practical vehicle, the Hyundai Tucson does a very good job at that. And you did probably notice that this is a power liftgate that is only available on the SEL trim or higher. Let's take a look at the interior of the 2024 Hyundai Tucson SEL. So as expected, you do have proximity keyless entry. And taking a brief look at the inside of the cabin, it looks quite nice. You do unfortunately only have cloth seats available on the SEL trim. So no leather seats unless you step up to the limited or you get the convenience package, which is $2,500. And immediately you can see relatively nice cabin, right? You don't have all of the like fancy tech that you expect in some of the higher trims of the compact SUVs these days, right? This screen looks pretty small, it's 8 inches, and you don't have a fully digital gauge cluster. But the rest of the cabin looks pretty nice in my opinion. And before we dive too much in, I do want to show you guys what the key fob looks like. So pretty sleek looking key fob. I like Hyundai's key fob design. Fits easily in pockets, and if you get the higher trims, you can actually have the, what do they call it, the remote parking assist or whatever, where you can move the car in and out of tight parking spots and stuff like that with just the key fob. Genesis does that and Hyundai does that. You also do have push button start right there, and you'll notice that it actually makes a little sound when you start it up. And I have to admit, I was a little shocked to find that push button start was only available on the SEL trim or higher. The SE trim gets a standard normal ignition, which is just, it seems super archaic these days. But all right, let's look at the driver point of view right now. So this is my seat pushed all the way back, which is why there's so much space right here. You've got a nice steering wheel. This isn't leather wrapped or anything like that though, so it doesn't feel too great, but I do think the steering wheel design looks pretty nice. You've got the adaptive cruise control settings on the right-hand side, and left-hand side you've got the volume control and skip track, which is all very, very intuitively laid out, which I love. One other thing I like about the steering wheel is that the stalks on the side have a really nice texture, and Hyundai does this through all of their vehicles, and I think it's such a cool, unique feel, and just something that, you know, is attention to detail that car manufacturers really need to do, because some people will really love this like I do. But yeah, everything is very usable. Automatic headlights, automatic high beams, everything is easy to use. This one doesn't have rain sensing windshield wipers, which I still feel like is a really strange thing to be missing, but apparently most economy class vehicles don't have it unless it's a higher trim, so kind of your mileage may vary there. Going into the actual gauge cluster right here, this is a 4.2-inch digital screen, so it is very small, but it is a digital screen. You can kind of flip through some of these settings here. A lot of the driver settings are actually in the screen here, but otherwise you can kind of just change what you want to see. So it's smooth, it's fast, not laggy or anything like that, and you can pretty much see everything you need to see here. I like keeping it on just my speedometer. But yeah, you can see the tachometer on the right-hand side and your fuel and everything, and temperature, range. All of this is very easily laid out, and it looks pretty good. Doesn't look too fancy, but it's usable. All right, let's take a look at the infotainment system. So this one is a kind of an older system that Hyundai is running here. So it felt newer when they first announced the Tucson. I remember in the 2022 Tucson marketing campaign, they were really bragging about the 10.25-inch screen that is available on the higher trims, or if you get this with the convenience package. So that one kind of just stretches this out to take over this entire area. It's a little weird because these are also buttons right here, or they're not actual buttons, it's a touchscreen. So I find it weird that they can't just extend it, but obviously this 8-inch screen still works fine. Apple CarPlay looks fine. The actual system itself is pretty easy to use. It is generally pretty quick to respond. So, you know, it's not like the most lightning fast thing you'll see, but like you can see there's a little bit of lag. It's definitely slower than the like luxury rivals and stuff like that, but it's all easy to use, and I do like Hyundai's system a lot. It is definitely one of the easiest setups for a vehicle. So I love how there is a physical knob to switch your temperature here. All of these are also going to be not actual buttons, but just a touch screen here. But yeah, it's all laid out very easily, and you can kind of find your way around without too much effort. Going into the middle center console area here, this is all very standardly laid out, very easy to use. That's kind of the goal of Hyundai, I think, is to make this car just really easy to use and just a generally pleasurable car ride, right? You do have a wireless charging pad right here, which is pretty cool. It has little like things on the side to keep your phone from slipping, which I feel like many more vehicles really need. You do have you have two USB-A charging slots right there. You have two cup holders, pretty straightforward. This is the normal shifter that you get with the lower trims. On the higher trims, you actually get buttons for each one. So if you don't like the buttons, you're gonna have to go with the lower trim. This is all laid out pretty easily. You can kind of see that I'm missing some features here, obviously. This one looks like a surround view camera, but is just the backup camera, so a little disappointing, but I wouldn't expect a surround view camera on the mid-grade trim on a $30,000 vehicle. You've got the ability to lock your differentials in case you want to go off-roading or, you know, the weather's bad, things like that. And then you've got auto hold and all that sort of good stuff right here. Your heated seats are actually right here, and if you get ventilated, they'll also be there as well. But yeah, heated seats, they work pretty nice. I like that they're 3-level adjustable. Same with the AC. That's something I love that Hyundai always does in their vehicles, is that you can adjust the power of your auto AC or heat, which is awesome because I really don't like it when it's super strong. One thing I want to note about the trim here is that it's gray. I really like, well, actually they call this gray, but on, you know, on camera I feel like it looks a bit more beige, but it is what they call gray. It's kind of like a light beige gray. It does get dirty very easily, so that's definitely one precaution if you want to get this color, but I do think it kind of pops a bit more. Getting black on black doesn't look the greatest in my opinion. So you have these seats here that have some very nice contrast stitching, right? I love the look of these seats. For the fact that these are just the base seats, I think it's a great design. Much more interesting than a lot of other vehicles' seats, right? You've got the nice contrast stitching and you've got that really interesting pillar in the middle as well. And just in general, these seats look really good. They are cloth, so they're not leather, so they're pretty hard to keep clean and definitely not the easiest thing to clean in general, but they're pretty comfortable and the heat elements work pretty well on it. Before we go into the rear seats, I do want to point out one of my favorite parts of the interior design is going to be this really cool aluminum chrome line that runs throughout the entire dash, right? So I love how it moves from the door panel into the actual dash and kind of integrates with those vents. I think that's a very sleek look. A lot of other brands are starting to do that as well, but I think the way they did this here looks really, really cool. And I love like the two-tone color contrast with that gray. But yeah, the door panels look pretty good, and they do actually have some pretty nice materials. In general, I would say the build quality of this vehicle seems higher than you would expect at this price point. All the vehicles these days kind of feel like that. You know, the new CR-V feels very, very premium, and the new Mazdas. Everything just feels great these days. You've got some nice, there is some plastic, but in general, all of these are different textures, and I kind of like that. You've got some nice leather here, and then some soft touch plastic, and then that's always plastic at the bottom. But yeah, all of the buttons here feel decent. They're not super high quality, they don't feel super clicky or well put together, but they feel pretty good, and I think this is a very nice looking door panel in general. Okay, going into the second row here. One thing you might notice immediately is that there's no pano sunroof on this. So actually no sunroof at all, right? I kind of feel like I wish there was a normal sunroof here, but I will say that you don't need the sunroof to feel airy. My gosh, getting in the second row here is just incredible how much space there is here. So I just got to show you guys this legroom. It is really incredible. This is with my normal driving position right here, and you have so much legroom and headroom. So when Hyundai redesigned the 2022 Tucson, they really made it larger. In general, they increased the size of everything, how long it is, how wide it is, and how tall it is. So this is just a brand new vehicle, honestly, and I mean, it's really done well. I think a lot of people love this design. I think it looks very, very nice. You do have that same cool like pillar going down, but you don't have all the same contrast stitching as the front seats, but you still have some of it on the headrest and on the bolsters and stuff like that. But yeah, the rear seats are fine. They're also cloth as you would expect. You do have a little pull out here for some armrest / cup holders. No pass through to the trunk though, but I mean, geez, look, even from here you can kind of see just how large the trunk is. It is very easy to access things from the second row here. And of course you can fold down the second row if you need some more cargo space for fitting longer items. But yeah, door panels look very similar. You've still got that cool chrome line that kind of goes through the trim. And yeah, you have cup holders, pretty much everything you could ask for. You do have two USB-A chargers down there as well, no USB-C, but everything here is very functional, and just the incredible amount of legroom is going to make this a really good vehicle for families. So I hope I've convinced you that this vehicle is really a great value, especially in the family compact SUV segment, I mean, you just get a lot for the $30,000 price tag, right? You get a great looking exterior, some cool color options. I also do want to note this color is free, which is really, really cool. Usually the blue options are not free. And the interior is, you know, not the greatest thing in the world, but you've got really usable tech. You've got a lot of standard features, blind spot monitors, rear cross traffic alert, backup camera. All of that is standard on this vehicle and works very well. You unfortunately don't get any front or rear parking sensors. I was a little surprised by no rear parking sensors, but all of the tech has worked really well. The standard adaptive cruise control with steering assist is a very cool feature to get, especially at the SE trim, which starts at like $27,000, right? So this is a pretty good bargain. But now the most important part obviously is how does the vehicle drive, right? So you can get the coolest tech and the coolest exterior and interior space and stuff like that, but if the car doesn't drive well, then obviously it's not the best car. But I am happy to report that the driving experience of this vehicle is very pleasant. Again, it's not fast. That's one thing I want to emphasize. 0 to 60 in about 9 seconds is pretty slow, right? I think it might be one of the slowest vehicles in these segments, but it's just a nice quiet ride, and I think that's a very important vehicle, especially in this segment, right? This is just a smooth, quiet ride. I'm actually very, very shocked at how good the sound deadening is in this vehicle, because when you're driving on like a good patch of road, you really don't hear much. This vehicle isn't huge, so it's not going to absorb the bumps in the road and stuff like that, as well as some of the larger boaty vehicles will, but the suspension does a good job. Like this car just in general, like it's just all around a great driving experience for you know, the people that this targets. I feel that's the biggest thing, is like if you're an enthusiast, obviously you're not going to enjoy this that much. Maybe they'll make a Hyundai Tucson N one day. But yeah, like it's not going to be the fastest car. It's not going to be the most well-handled car. Like, you know, you can't take corners super fast. It does have a little bit of body roll, but in general, it's just a pleasant driving experience. And I think that's all people really want these days. And I just want to emphasize that $30,000 price tag. Who says that a cheap vehicle cannot be good looking, right? Like, this is one of the most attractive vehicles on the market right now, especially in this intense blue. If you keep it clean, like, man, it looks really, really good. And I just think Hyundai and Kia have done such a great job making people say wow, right? The new Hyundai Sonata, that looks fantastic. And people are just very impressed. Like, everyone I talk to is very impressed with Hyundai and Kia's design language these days. And I mean, just the styling is such a unique part of this vehicle and really makes it stand out, right? Like, you get a lot of compliments on this vehicle, which is pretty cool for being in the third model year. It's not even a fresh redesign or anything like that yet, but you will get a refresh in 2025. So again, if you do want the more modern tech, I will say that is probably the one part of the vehicle that I would ding a little bit, is that the infotainment system, the 8-inch touchscreen, doesn't look the best anymore, right? It would look a lot better if you were able to get that sleek dual screen that they're doing in all of the other vehicles and other Hyundais. You can see that in a lot of my other Hyundai reviews, but for this vehicle, they are adding that in the 2025 model year. So pay attention to that if you want to get the more modern tech. But yeah, like right now is a really good example of it, just a smooth road, and it's quiet. The sound system is fine. It's, you know, you can amp up the bass and it feels better. The Bose sound system isn't the greatest either though, so I don't really know if it's worth upgrading, but it comes as part of the limited trim. I honestly don't know if I'd recommend the limited. I honestly think the SEL is going to be that sweet spot in terms of price for value, right? Even the standard SE trim, if you don't care about some of the things that come in the SEL, like, you know, you don't need heated seats, you don't care about push button start. Unfortunately, that one is probably a deal breaker for me. I need push button start and proximity keyless entry. Both of those come in the SEL. But if you don't need that sort of stuff, the SE standard trim works very, very well. So if you're looking for a vehicle with a large amount of cargo capacity and really good legroom for second row passengers, this is probably one of the best family vehicles you can get at this price point, right? For about $30,000, you get a lot of nice tech, you get a lot of great safety features, and a really cool looking vehicle, right? I don't think there's any other compact SUV that can compare with this vehicle in terms of looks. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. I have been kind of blown away by this vehicle, and I really hope it impresses a lot of you guys. I'm really looking forward to see what the 2025 Hyundai Tucson is going to be like, and probably the future RAV4, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest competitors to this vehicle. If you want to check out some of my other reviews, you can click up here. I have a lot of other Hyundai reviews out there, and you can subscribe down here, and I will see you guys in the next review. Bye, everyone.